Well, this lecture is an introduction to using the graphing calculator. The graphing calculator is a quick way to get a picture of a function. There are times you will also need to be able to graph by hand. This particular lesson will be with the TI-84. Yours is different. Even if it's the same, I suggest that you go to a website to get a tutorial. Okay, when we use the graphing calculator, we have a screen here, and notice that the screen that we have shows a window which is only a part of the graph. The graph extends infinitely, both left, right, up, and down. Okay, but the viewing window is what we want to pick. Notice that this viewing window, it looks like it goes from -10 to 10 and from -2 to about 8. If you look at the tick marks, but we don't know what the scale is here. Let's start with what we call the standard viewing window. We go to what we call zoom, and then if we use the cursor to go down to standard, this is a standard viewing window. We enter, and notice now we're going from a -10 to +10 here, and -10 here to a +10. So that's what the x min is -10, x max is +10, y min is -10, y max is +10, and the tick marks are 1 unit apart. So we say that the x scale and the y scale are both 1. Okay, I want to graph on this standard zooming, the standard window. We want to graph y equal x squared. First, let's say we are going to graph this by hand. Okay, and we can plot some points, pick values for x, and find the corresponding values for y. Okay, if x is 0, y is 0 squared, which is 0. If x is 1, y is y is 1 squared, which is 1. X is 2, y is 2 squared, which is 4. X is -1, y is square root of -1, which is a +1. Remember, when we square a negative number, we get a positive number. And x is 2, y is 2 squared, which is +4. Okay, so some points that we will want to see on our graph are 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, -1, 1, -2, 4. And then when we graph this using the graphing calculator, we go to y equal, and it gives us a choice. We want x. We can go to this button that says xt, etc., and the x will show up. And then to do the x squared, we could either, there are two keys we could pick. One, which will work for all exponents, is the caret. Put 2 there, that gives you x squared. Okay, and then push the graph button, and we get y equal x squared. And notice here that we have x is 3, y is 9, x is -2, y is 4, x is -1, y is 1. To get this on your calculator, you push the second function and graph, and that gives you the table. The table of values, which is what we were working on earlier. Okay, let's go back to the graph. And now we have the graph, and we can see where we have 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9, negative 1, 1, negative 2, 4, negative 3, 9. Okay, now, notice that our standard window works well for this one. Would it work so well if we changed, let's change our basic function. Let's set y equal x squared. Let's change it to y equal x squared plus 50. And then we graph. Okay. We don't see our graph. If you look at the table of values, you can see y. When x is 0, y should be 50. Remember, with our standard viewing window, y only goes up to 10. So we need to change our y min to something bigger than 50. So we go back to our window. Notice now I checked on window instead of zoom because I don't want a standard window. We have our x min is negative 10. Our x max is positive 10, x scale is 1, y min is negative 10, y max is 10, x scale is 1, and this is our standard viewing window. What we want to change is our y max. So let's go down to y max and change that to something bigger than 50. For example, let's change it to 80 and graph. Okay, now we can see our graph. This point where our graph crosses the y-axis should be the point where x is 0 and y is 50. But we can't tell whether it is or not because what happens, remember our tick marks here were 1 unit apart. There's so many of them, we tried to squeeze 80 in here that it just makes a solid thick line. So let's go back to our window and change our y scale. Let's make those tick marks 10 units apart. So our y scale, instead of 1 now, we'll make it 10. And now, enter graph. And now we can see, so these are 10 units apart. There's 10, 20, 30, 40. So this graph crosses the y-axis where we wanted it to. So the scale is correct. We could also have changed our scale. Maybe instead of making our tick marks 10 units apart, 5 units apart. So we go back to window and go down to our y scale. Instead of having 10, we have just 5. And notice now that these being 5 units apart, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Either way, that corrected the situation. Okay, on your homework, you might be asked to make a conjecture as to how to set the screen of the individual so that individual tick marks show up. A conjecture, when they ask for conjecture, that's an educated guess. In this case, I guessed that changing the y scale to 10 would help, and it did. And I had another conjecture of changing it to 5. And that one also worked. But our conjecture might be that we could change the y scale to 10, or that we could change our y scale to 5, or we could just say for a conjecture, make the y scale bigger. Okay, I hope this lesson helps with your homework. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.